Draft season is upon us, and it is a special time of the year. The Senior Bowl preview shows are our unofficial kickoff to rookie draft season, rookie profile season. Before we get into those individual rookie profiles, we start by giving an overview of every player that will be invited and participating in the 2025 Reese's Senior Bowl. We're going to start here on the running backs. John, this is such a strong running back class coming off of a very weak running back class in 2024. Fantasy football managers are thirsting for this. Before we get into the episode, want to encourage folks, if you're not familiar with our rookie profiles and our Senior Bowl preview shows, leave us comments, ask us questions. We want to answer. We want to give you information on these guys. And if this video helps you understand the 2025 class at all, please give the video a like. It really helps us get lots of eyeballs on it. So, John, before we get into our first guy, Cam Skattebo, just a real quick overview. The Senior Bowl, it's an annual showcase game. It's the top, not just seniors anymore, even though that's the name, but it's really the top prospects. And what it does is it gives these players an opportunity to get in front of NFL coaching staffs, NFL front offices. All 32 teams sent representatives to Mobile, Alabama, get in front of the media. 3 days of practice. That's where you're really learning a lot about players as they go through individual drills. They'll weigh in. They'll certainly have opportunity with the media, so you'll get an idea of their personality. And actually, John, the least important thing at all is at the end of the week, they play a showcase game. But it's really those individual drills during practice where guys pop. And so it should be really interesting to see who jumps out from this group this upcoming year. And we're going to start with a top candidate here, and that's Cam Skattebo out of Arizona State. He's coming off of an awesome semifinal or quarterfinals performance in the college football playoff, put Arizona State on their back. John, lead us into Skattebo here.
I think the world of college football knows how good this young man is. He was fantastic down the stretch, specifically in the Big 12 championship game and in the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Matt, in high school, he was a 0-star recruit. No one wanted this young man, and he enrolls at Sacramento State in 2021. As a sophomore in 2022, he is the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year. He ran for 1,382 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had 31 catches for 371 yards and 3 touchdowns. He moves up to the FBS level the next season, and he transfers to Arizona State. Matt, he was rocking in 2023. These are amazing stats that I found out. He played 50 snaps at quarterback, 350 snaps at running back, 2 at tight end, and he had over 100 snaps at wide receiver in the slot or outside, and he returned kicks.
That's awesome.
He was a finalist for the Paul Hornung Award. And he was even better last year, Matt. 1,711 rushing yards and 21 touchdowns. If it wasn't for Ashton Genty, everyone would be talking about Skattebo as the preeminent runner in college football. He had 45 catches for 605 yards and 3 touchdowns. First team All Big 12, most valuable player of the Big 12 championship game, and MVP against Texas. Matt, he hits a lot of benchmarks that I like in my model. Scrimmage yards percentage, 38%, and 69 receptions in the past 2 seasons. Matt, what does your film study say about Skattebo?
I love Cam Skattebo. He was one of the guys that you couldn't get tape on him until a little bit later in the season, but he jumped right up my running back rankings here. And I actually have a full breakdown on Skattebo in my running back sleepers episode, so you can go ahead and check that out. That was the last one that got dropped before this one. But in turn, a quick summary here. Patient runner. He anticipates space very well. Skattebo at 5'11", 215, man. He's a really nice combination of size and lateral quickness, explosive playability. He changes direction well. He is explosive through his cuts. That will jump out on tape. And he's going to balance that with what I call second effort strength. He's tenacious. He's aggressive. He's physical. He always wants more. NFL teams are going to love that competitive attitude that Skattebo comes with. And to balance it all out, John, legitimate threat in the passing game. He's somebody who I'm a big fan of. I think he's going to be a day 2 selection. And he's the type of guy that's already won over a lot of folks. He's going to go to Mobile, and I think he's going to come out with an even stronger draft capital. Our next guy up here is Jarquez Hunter, the running back out of Auburn. And I'll say right now, just so everyone's clear, we are not listing these off in a ranking order. This is alphabetical by school, all right? So Jarquez Hunter, he's not our second highest rated running back in this group here, but there's a little bit here. And I got to tell you, there's Jarquez Hunter truthers out there for sure. He's got a long college career, John, and some pretty good stats to go with it.
Matt, I've actually liked him more over the process in the last 3 weeks.
I knew you would. He's your kind of running back.
Getting prepared for the show, Matt. I'm more impressed. For an SEC back, he's not getting any discussion, but I think the NFL is going to like him. In high school, he was named Mississippi Mr. Football, and he was a top-level recruit. He enrolled at Auburn in 2021, and he garnered all SEC freshman team, immediately made an impact. Now, fast forward 2 years later as a junior, and he begins to dominate the backfield for the Tigers. Remember, they had Tank Bigsby, and he had 187 carries for 1,201 yards and 8 touchdowns. He finished his Auburn tenure as the 4th all-time leading rusher with over 3,300 yards. He had 29 career total touchdowns, and 12 times he surpassed 100 yards in a game. Matt, my model likes him a lot. What does your film study say about Jarquez Hunter?
There's certainly things to like about Jarquez Hunter's game, right? You know, he's a scrappy runner. He seeks out contact. He's got good contact balance. I wouldn't say his overwhelming strength, but he's got good balance to the way he runs. He's not the fastest guy off the line of scrimmage, but he does flip a second gear, and he's got good burst through open space when it presents itself. I like Hunter best when he operates as a one-cut runner. Sometimes he'll try to do a little bit too much. I like him between the tackles, one-cut runner. And I think he adjusts very well to off-target passes. And we know Hunter has had a carousel of quarterbacks over his college career, right? And he really kind of has been the rock of that Auburn offense. I think that's going to buy him points with front office folks. I think he goes into Mobile for me as a late day 3 selection. But this is why guys go to Mobile, right? They have the chance, the opportunity to impress. And even if it's things like pass protection, John, if you impress in those drills, you'll move up the draft capital. I mean, a guy like Dameon Pierce a couple years back, right? He was not very popular, late day 3 pick. He had a similar build to Jarquez Hunter. He came out and he got much better draft capital. And, you know, I know things haven't worked out perfectly for him, but he got drafted into a starting role in the NFL, even, you know, round 4. One guy who I am much more excited about, all right, I'm going to play my cards here. I loved what I saw from RJ Harvey, the running back at UCF. This is somebody who I'm already telling you, I don't think he's going to get the best draft capital in the world, but he's going to get really good draft capital in my rookie drafts because I'm going to be taking him, and I'm going to be taking him in a pretty aggressive position here. John, talk to me about RJ Harvey.
My only regret in college fantasy football is I did not have enough shares of RJ Harvey last year. I was too concerned about KJ Jefferson stealing touchdowns from him, and I really do regret that. The first thing I think people have to come to be okay with, he's an older prospect. He played quarterback in high school, and he went to Virginia in 2019. He transferred to UCF in 2020, and he missed the entire 2021 season with the torn ACL in preseason. So we have a later, older prospect, but I'm okay with that. I'm looking at 3-year windows, Matt. So I'm okay with if he gets the draft capital that we hope. In 2022, he finally made an impact on the field with 796 yards, and he was 3rd team all AAC for the Knights. But he exploded in 2023, 1,416 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns. He was a semifinalist for the Doak Walker Award and all Big 12 honorable mention at running back. And he was even better last year, Matt, and I really do regret not drafting him enough in my season-long leagues. He had 1,577 yards and 22 touchdowns. He was third-team All-American, first-team All-Big 12, and again, a Doak Walker semifinalist. In my model, it really likes this young man. He averaged 6.5 yards per carry, and he had a scrimmage yards dominator of 34%. He also hits the 200-pound mark. I really like Harvey. Tell us why you like him so much, Matt.
He really pops on his tape review. So I'm a big fan when you flip on the Harvey tape. He hits cutback lanes with success. That's something I love to see from running back prospects. He's twitchy. He's got good lateral agility. I love what I see from Harvey in terms of start, stop, explosive ability, right? That's your ability to get into those cuts, change direction, get back to top speed quickly. He's a slippery runner, all right? When I say that, he's not the contact balance like bowling over guys, right? You're running them over, but he's slippery, and that counts. That's an underrated, trait, I feel like, at times. You balance all of that from RJ Harvey with good hands. He wins in traffic, all right? So he's more than just a check down in the flat. When I'm talking about his ability to have good hands and contribute to the passing game, he works well in traffic. He catches the ball over the middle of the field, and he's running some legitimate routes. Now, I'm not talking about, a super technical, Bijan Robinson type route runner, but he works the wheel route. He works an angle route. He can work a drag over the middle of the field, right? Like RJ Harvey can legitimately contribute to the passing game at an NFL level. He's got the size. He's got the tape. This is a guy who could be one of the biggest risers coming out of Mobile. I'm willing to get aggressive talking about that. But John, let's go down to the FCS level. Let's talk about Marcus Yarns, a late ad. He just made it in before the show, and we should mention, it's always possible guys get swapped in or swapped out late, but we just got Marcus Yarns in, 5'11", 190, out of FCS Delaware, soon to be FBS Delaware, by the way.
And they're on the UConn schedule next year, so I might be able to see the Blue Hens.
Oh, there you go.
But, Matt, I had placed Marcus Yarns in my top 35 running backs when I heard about him. There is some chatter in the drafts, in the industrial scouting complex about him. Now he gets the invite to the Senior Bowl. I have to be honest with our viewers. I have not broken down film. I haven't found a lot. I did look up. He played 3 sports in high school, Matt: football, basketball, and lacrosse. We like these multi-talented athletes across different sports. Career rushing, over 2,300 rushing yards for Delaware, and he averaged 6.4 yards per carry. But as a receiver, 64 catches for 812 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's 12.7 yards per carry. I am very intrigued by this young man, 5'11", 190, not undersized, but he doesn't hit the 200-pound threshold. Scrimmage yards, his most was 1,250 for the Blue Hens. I'm very interested in really watching this young man in Mobile and trying to get my hands on some film.
This is what it's all about, right? This is why the Senior Bowl is called a showcase game, right? Because a guy like Marcus Yarns, you don't have a lot of tape on him. You don't get to see him against top-level competition. So if he can come in and show out, that really helped a guy like Dylan Laub last year, right?
Yes.
So here, I'm going to be completely honest with folks. All right, I've watched tape on 55 prospects in this class so far. It's only January. I've got full tape evaluations, full rookie profile articles available at patreon.com/rookiebigboard for everybody in this episode except Marcus Yarns. He was a late ad. If you have Delaware tape, please give it to me. So I'm prefacing all of this by saying I caught some, overall Delaware tape. I found some highlights. I don't like scouting highlights, but I wanted to be able to talk about his game at least a little bit. So what I saw from that: good burst, good downfield acceleration, not the fastest off the snap, but if you get him in open space, he builds speed very well moving downfield. I like his ability to shake defenders in tight and open space, but in particular, I was impressed based on his size for his ability to shake guys in tight space with lateral agility. I like his hands. He's got good hands in the short field, and you will see him targeted downfield at times in the Delaware offense. I like his contact balance. I like his physicality. Again, 5'11", 190. So you got to take that with a grain of salt against FCS competition. Let's see that in some of those tackling drills, some of those physical drills, which there are some during the senior week. And he is effective in short yardage situations as well. So again, not the most in-depth tape review on Marcus Yarns, but that gives you a good foundation. And he's somebody you're going to want to be paying close attention to, because what he does in Mobile really will be weighted very heavily, even more so than some of the guys that have that power 4 competition to go up against here. Before we get into the next prospect here, who is one of my favorite players in the entire draft, I want to make sure folks know, if you're listening to an episode, watching an episode about Senior Bowl wide receivers or running backs in January, you are the type of sicko, the in-depth analyst here who needs the resources available over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. So if you haven't checked in since last draft season, we have a brand new website. It's got a new look Rookie Big Board with every player having in-depth prospect profiles, full articles on those players. You can get access to that, my dynasty rankings, which have just been updated, my Devy rankings, which have just been updated with the transfer portal and these incoming freshmen. You could get access to the Rookie Big Board Discord with personalized advice. All of that for just $5 a month, or save 15% off with an annual membership. Now is the time to get ahead of your league mates and join us over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. All right. Now, with that being said, Devin Neal. Those who have been listening to me for a while know I've been waiting for Devin Neal to come out. And John, folks are starting to catch on with the running back out of Kansas.
We were both disappointed last year when he decided to go back, but I do understand the decision he made. And if you're not familiar with Devin Neal, or if you haven't watched the tape, go watch some tape. He has logged 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons for the Jayhawks, and twice he had over 1,200 yards, Matt. In high school, he was the #1 recruit in Kansas. And he had offers elsewhere, but he decided to stay close to his home because he's from the area. He made an immediate impact as a true freshman, Matt. 707 yards and 8 touchdowns. He was also the first Jayhawks freshman to ever be named the Offensive Player of the Week in the Big 12. He recorded his first 1,000-yard season as a sophomore while averaging 6.1 yards per carry. In 2023, he rushed for a career best 1,280 yards, 180 yards, and 16 scores. He was named second team All Big 12, and many of us thought he might go to the NFL. He returned in 2024 as the team captain. He gained 1,266 rushing yards and scored another 16 times. He was honorable mention All Big 12. The conference was loaded in the backfield. He finished his Kansas career as the all-time leading rusher, and he holds school records for rushing touchdowns, yards, scrimmage touchdowns, and 100-plus yard rushing games. Matt, what does your film study say about Devin Neal?
I love Devin Neal. I think he's a super well-rounded prospect. It starts for me with his vision. He's a decisive runner. When he sees space, he hits space. He anticipates open space very well. He feels gaps open up. He's able to work through really small gaps. You have to understand that in the Kansas offense, you mentioned those great stats, John. The boxes have been loaded for years. They know the offense runs around Devin Neal, and he's doing it with stacked boxes. He's doing it with an understanding the defense knows the offense is going through him. He's sneaky elusive. He's so good at making space. It's making something out of nothing. So many times we fall in love with running back prospects that are flashy, and they a lot of the times make nothing out of something. Devin Neal's the opposite. He's not flashy, but he often will get something out of nothing. He's a shifty runner. He's got really good footwork. He changes direction well. He's got powerful lower body strength. He's a reliable check down option out of the passing game. He does everything well. Former 4-star prospect, good frame, good production, good tape. He checks a ton of boxes. I don't know why more folks aren't talking about him, but I'm okay with that. That means I'm going to get more Devin Neal exposure, just like all of our viewers are going to. All right, so now let's talk about Damien Martinez, the running back out of Miami. Good build, good production at Oregon State, underrated season at Miami behind Cam Ward, but a really good bowl game when he ended up opting out at halftime. I think you saw what the offense would look like if Martinez was leading the show the rest of the season. What do you got on the big back out of Miami?
I'll never forgive Mario Cristobal for not giving the ball to Damien Martinez more often, Matt. And I'll say this, you love Harvey. I have fallen back in love with Damien Martinez in my film study. I just believe an NFL team is going to absolutely fall in love with him. He's 232 pounds, Matt. His BMI is over 31. The benchmark is 30. He is a big boy. He was a 3-star recruit in high school, and he went to Oregon State. And he was freshman All-American first team and Pac-12 Offensive Freshman of the Year in 2022. He rushed for 982 yards and scored 7 times. He was even better as a sophomore, Matt. 1,185 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. He was all Pac-12 first team and Doak Walker semifinalist. I was so giddy when he went to Miami. I really felt he would be a massive difference maker. And he kind of disappointed me as a college fantasy football running back. He only rambled for 1,002 yards and scored 10 times. He earned honorable mention also ACC. But Matt, I've gone back and watched the film, a lot of them. His career receptions are only 32, but I want to say one thing. He is much better of a receiver than people think. There's this play, Matt. He chips the outside pass rusher. He gets off of his route. He stays on his feet. He goes out into the flat, and Cam Ward throws a miserably poor pass. With one hand in the air, Martinez grabs the ball, and he ends up with a 7-yard reception. It looks like a 7-yard reception in the box score. Folks, his athleticism is very much underrated. That was against Georgia Tech. He has some nice receptions on tape. I love Damien Martinez. What does your film study say, Matt?
I think you're spot on. If you watch the tape, it's hard not to see him having at least a role in an NFL offense, right? He's physically dominant. He's a patient runner. He anticipates gaps well. He rarely goes down on first contact. I mean, rarely goes down on first contact. He's aggressive. He's really reliable in pass protection as well. The Senior Bowl is the type of space where Damien Martinez is going to thrive. He's not going to thrive in Indianapolis, right? Which is leading me, based on his final senior season usage, Indianapolis, I think he's going to be a day 3 pick. But the Senior Bowl is where I think a team's going to fall in love with him, keep it under the radar, keep it quiet, maybe wait till round 4, round 5 to draft him. But Martinez is the guy where if he gets a shot at lead back volume, which a lot of times these guys, it's one injury away, he has the skill set to carry a large load, a 200-plus touch role, and be an impact guy in the fantasy football landscape. All right, let's do it. We got to talk about him. Donovan Edwards out of Michigan. I mean, a roller coaster, absolute roller coaster Devy career. We're not exiting at the top of the peak of his value either, right? But the Senior Bowl is a final opportunity for Donovan Edwards to make a case for himself as a contributor for an NFL team.
Everyone knows who watches our shows. I'm a Michigan guy. I probably seen Devin Edwards nearly 25, 30 times live or, on television, scouted the tape. I'm probably lower on him than most, but he does have utility as a pass catcher. So I do think an NFL team will grab him for a specific role. I still don't understand why he went to Michigan, Matt. He's an outside space player, and he goes to an offense that's a grind it between the tackles runner. So I do think what would happen if they designed an offense that took advantage of his skills? The film in 2022 is his best. He had 991 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. He was the Big Ten Griffin Grange championship game MVP. That's where you see, I think, Donovan Edwards at his best. In 2023, he really took a step backwards on the ground, 497 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Last year, he only had 589 and 4 touchdowns. He did get honorable mention all Big Ten. I need Donovan Edwards to show me something at the Senior Bowl and maybe get the draft capital that we thought he might have had as a sophomore. What's your film study say, Matt?
Yeah, you know what? I've been a Donovan Edwards defender at times. The highs are high, but man, it's just not there for him. Now, that being said, you mentioned it. I think a pass catching specialist role in the NFL is an absolute possibility for him, right? He's a speedy runner, he's got good burst. He's got a great second gear, an even better third gear. Downfield acceleration is fantastic. He's got quick footwork. He's got lateral agility, and he can contribute to the passing game with good hands. He's able to catch the ball in stride, turn upfield, continue after the catch. And here's the bottom line. The Senior Bowl offers opportunities for you to look good in drills, right? You're working in space. Your vision's not necessarily tested. That's good for Donovan Edwards because his vision is his downfall. Indianapolis, he's going to go. He's going to look great. An NFL team is going to convince themselves that he can contribute to their offense, and maybe he can, right? I'm thinking like the Justice Hill type role in an NFL offense. It can be good. He can help your NFL team. Just proceed with caution when it comes to getting too excited about his fantasy football value. But John, I'm actually a lot more excited about his backfield mate this past season, and that's Kalel Mullings out of Michigan as well. A little bit different of a profile, a little bit different of a production load as well. Talk to us about Mullings.
One of the shockers of the year is that Kalel Mullings rose to the top of the depth chart and really became the star in the Wolverines backfield this year. In high school, he was Massachusetts Player of the Year in 2019, but he came into Michigan as an outside linebacker and four-star prospect, Matt. As a true freshman, he played special teams and linebacker. By the time he was a senior in 2023, he appeared at 13 games at running back and special teams. He only had 36 carries then for 222 yards and a touchdown. Now, as a graduate student last year, he made the switch to full-time running back. And there were rumors about Kalel Mullings through training camp that he might be the guy for Michigan. And boy, we featured him on one of our early waiver wire college fantasy football shows, Matt. He smashed this year, 185 carries for 948 yards and 12 touchdowns. He was honorable mention All Big Ten, and he had 400-yard rushing outings. Matt, he's 6', 233. He does have some athletic ability. There's no question about that. And he is a between the tackles grinder. But surprisingly, he's all right in space, and he has some nice acceleration. Matt, what's your film study say about Mullings?
I like Mullings a lot, John. You know, especially for a bigger back build at 6'1", 233. He's powerful. He smashes between the tackles. He'll make guys miss in tight space. I love his decisive running style. He sees space. He's going to shoot that open gap. He's going to get into it and out of it on the other side. Tenacious, scrappy. He finishes through runs. When you watch him run, you're going to understand why he started as a linebacker, right? He seeks out contact, second level burst, builds good speed running downhill. Probably not a 3-down back. You know, I think he's going to live between the tackles at the next level, but certainly somebody who could impress and could find himself having a role in an NFL offense for a long time. Our next guy up here, another one of these guys where at times has been a top 3 Devy running back, a top 5 Devy running back, but is kind of entering the NFL draft at the bottom of his Devy value. I mean, quite frankly, and that's Ollie Gordon, 6'2", 225 out of Oklahoma State. John, to be transparent, I thought he was going to hit the portal and get one more season, but he's ready for the NFL. Where are you coming into this situation here with Ollie Gordon?
I'm a little perplexed. I have to be honest, because if you watch the tape from 2023 and then you turn on the tape to 2024, we are literally completely different running back. Now, remember, college football doesn't report injuries. I feel like there was something that impacted him. I've searched for about 2 months trying to find something out, but just can't find it. So you need to watch 2 years of tape. Matt, in 2023, he was a Doak Walker winner, unanimous All-American, and Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. I made the comment on a couple shows. He reminded me of Le'Veon Bell and Breece Hall. patient runner behind the line of scrimmage, and explosive once he saw the hole. He led the nation with 732 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns. More importantly, he had 39 catches for 330 yards and a score. I was all in. I thought Ollie Gordon was a legitimate NFL prospect. This year, Matt, something happened. Oklahoma State fell apart. It was obvious in the tape watching Gordon. He had 190 carries, but only 880 yards and 13 touchdowns. Sank a couple of my best ball teams in college fantasy football, and he had 29 catches for 179 yards and a score. Matt, hopefully we'll get some more news on the medical reports and what might have happened at Oklahoma State. I agree with you. I thought he was going back in the transfer portal and to revive his draft status. But what does your film study say after 2 years of looking at this young man?
Yeah, that's the key here. You have to take Ollie Gordon. You have to watch his 2023 tape and his 2024 tape. The two guys in this episode that you want to get that takeaway from, Ollie Gordon, Damien Martinez, right? Damien Martinez switched schools. Ollie Gordon might as well have, right? Now, in 2023, and you'll see this sometimes in 2024 as well, he's got good lower body strength, right? That's a key to his game. He finishes forward through runs. He's aggressive. He's scrappy. He's effective after first contact. You mentioned it. He's got explosive playability. But for me, what's even more impressive at 6'2", 225, light on his feet, really clean cuts. So, John, you're saying that you were searching for an injury, a medical injury, something that could explain. Here's where I'm at with Ollie Gordon. When I watch him in 2024, I see a back that has no confidence. He's indecisive. Yeah. He's overthinking behind the line of scrimmage. He's slower. You mentioned he's a patient runner. That's a good thing in 2023. He's timid in 2024. He's playing behind a much worse offensive line. The passing game fell off. I mean, there was no legitimate threat from the passing game with Oklahoma State. The boxes were loaded. They knew that it was coming for Gordon, and the offensive line wasn't clearing him any space, right? And so for me, we talk a lot about quarterbacks getting mentally shaken, losing their confidence. That, for me, is what happened with Ollie Gordon. I mean, he lost confidence. That's why I thought he needed a clean reset. You put him in the transfer portal behind the Ohio State offensive line, right? All of a sudden, he's a top 50 pick next year. But he's off to the NFL. And so hopefully with a clean environment, a clean space here, he gets a reset in that. And that's what Mobile offers, folks, right? He'll have the ability to show out in that way. Another guy who I do think is going to show out, it's one of my favorite guys. I've been hyping him up for years, and he looked like an even better player in a totally different scheme this year at USC, and that's Woody Marks. You might know him as Jaquovius Marks. That's what he went by when he was at Mississippi State. He transfers to USC. Although the USC offense falls apart, Woody Marks has a really good season for the Trojans, and he's going to carry that momentum into the Senior Bowl.
There is no question in my mind that he has a specific role in the NFL, and he looks like the ultimate committee back with some utility as a full-time starter in an emergency situation, right? He has the 208-pound. He has the frame at 5'10", the frame and the weight at 5'10", 208. He made an immediate impact as a freshman at Mississippi State. And that's when Mike Leach was coaching the Bulldogs. His freshman year, Matt, he had 60 catches for 268 yards, and he established a school record for receptions by a running back and a freshman. In 2022, as a sophomore, Matt, he had 83 receptions for 502 yards and 3 more touchdowns. Look at the screen, everyone. He finishes his career with 261 yards receiving. 261 catches. He is going to have a role in the NFL. You can put him in the 2-minute drill. You can bring him in on third downs. He's exceptional there. In 2023, they changed coaches. Things kind of didn't work out at Mississippi State. He only had 23 catches for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he made a great decision to transfer to USC, right, Matt? He literally showed us what he can do. We didn't see this at Mississippi State. He had 198 carries for 1,133 yards and 9 touchdowns. 6 times he had over 100 yards rushing. He also added 47 receptions for 321 yards. He was second team all Big Ten. He was the Trojans offense for Lincoln Riley. Matt, he might be the Tyrone Tracy of this year's draft. I kind of like him a lot now. What do you think?
Well, I like that comp because I got a ton of Tyrone Tracy, just like all the rookie big board faithful did. One of the biggest tips from last year we're hearing in the Discord. Tyrone Tracy helped folks out a ton. Woody Marks, I'm a big fan of his hands. You mentioned it. He's got great hands. He's got legitimate ball skills. He's able to run routes downfield. He's an effective receiver on his own. They will line him up at receiver at times, but he's also really effective, of course, catching the ball out of the backfield. 3 years in the Mike Leach system will absolutely make sure that you are an excellent pass catcher. And Marks definitely checks that box. But he's more than a pass catcher for me. I think he's a patient runner that capitalizes and quickly hits open space when it's created. He's an effective inside-out runner, so I think he's able to navigate the field very well. I think Marks displays really good second-level burst, and he's got that start-stop explosive playability that I really like. He gets to top speed quickly. I think he's the type of guy, John, that's not drafted into a lead back role, but if he happens upon it, he could be a big fantasy football impact player. And for a guy who you're probably going to draft in the late 3rd or 4th round of your rookie drafts, that could return some seriously good value. But I think this next guy we're going to talk about, John, could be the best value you take in the 2025 rookie drafts because nobody's talking about him. Right now, I don't even think he would get drafted in a 48 team, standard 48 pick league. I think that will change by the time May comes because I think he's going to get better draft capital than folks think. One of my underrated guys, Brashard Smith, the running back out of SMU, spends his first 3 collegiate seasons at Miami, basically isn't used at all. Transfers to SMU, looks fantastic, John. Excellent tape and some good stats to boot.
Matt, this group literally has everything you want if you are looking for a specific running back, right? Brashard Smith, he was a 4-star recruit who signed with Miami in 2021. And he was a receiver, everyone. You've got to understand that. He was a receiver. He only had 18 carries for 177 yards in 3 years at Miami. But he did have 69 catches for 770 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also returned kicks, so there's a lot of utility, Matt. He had 39 returns for 975 yards, and he averaged 25 yards per return. He was named the 2023 second-team All-ACC specialist. So an NFL team is going to immediately like this young man's versatility. He ends up going to SMU. And he becomes the Mustangs' primary runner and basically is one of the main reasons why they ended up in the CFP playoffs and won the ACC. He had 235 carries for 1,332 yards and 14 touchdowns. More importantly, Matt, he had 39 receptions, 327 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was first team All-ACC. This young man, my model really likes. The only little red flag is he's under 200 pounds, but it's not that bad at 196. But he had a 28% scrimmage yards dominator this year and 108 career receptions. Matt, I like him. My model likes him. You alluded to it. I have a feeling your film study likes him.
Yeah, John, I say this all the time, man. There are, since we've been doing this, I've watched, 500 running backs at this point, 300 running backs at this point. It can be tough to get excited, like legitimately, watch tape and you kind of, perk up in your chair and you get excited. That's what I felt with Brashard Smith because I went in with zero expectation and I left really excited. He's got light, quick feet. He's a fluid mover. He's a decisive runner. He hits holes hard, all right? He sees open space. He hits open space. I love that from a running back because vision translates to the next level for fantasy football value. He speeds up quickly, so he gets off the snap very quickly, gets to top speed fast, and he's explosive. He carries that explosiveness through his cuts and into the second level of the field. good short area quickness. And so what have I talked about? I've talked about speed, quickness, explosive play, lateral agility. Those are different ways to measure how fast somebody is. And when you check multiple boxes, that translates well to the next level. He's got good ball skills. He catches the ball consistently. He turns upfield well, and he is a second effort runner. You talked about not the biggest frame. I hope he does come in over 200 at the Senior Bowl because we will get official measurements there, but he has that second effort strength consistently. He's always fighting forward. Every single snap, Smith is giving it his all. And John, one running back left here to finish out our 11-player preview episode. And I will remind folks before we get into Bhayshul Tuten out of Virginia Tech, I want to remind folks, if you are enjoying this type of content, you got to head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard. This is this type of stuff we're talking about every day in the Rookie Big Board Discord, giving draft advice, trade advice, roster overhaul advice. You can get access to the full profiles, full evaluations that I have for every player we've talked about on this episode. The rookie rankings, the Devy rankings, the dynasty rankings. The Rookie Big Board is updated literally every day this time of year. You'll get access to my rookie guide, one-on-one draft consultation call, so much stuff for just $5 a month. And you can get 15% off now with an annual membership. The link will be in the episode description. John, let's finish strong here. A sneaky guy, not getting a lot of hype, but I think there's something here with Bhayshul Tuten out of Virginia Tech.
Oh, there's definitely something here, and I can't wait to see reports. I would like to see him in some drills, but his resume, Matt, entering the NFL is very underrated by your casual fan. He played 2 seasons at North Carolina A&T, and that's an FCS level school, my friends. He rushed for 1,363 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2022. He was an FCS third-team All-American and first-team All-Big South. He was in the transfer portal, and he was one of the higher-ranked running backs in the portal, and he ends up at Virginia Tech, Matt. And he rushed immediately in 2023 for 863 yards, 27 receptions for 239 yards and 12 total touchdowns. He was named second-team all-purpose back in the ACC. And this year, Matt, I was very disappointed in the Hokies. I put a little side bet. I thought Virginia Tech was going to be pretty good in the ACC. I just burned that little side bet on that one. But I'll say this, Tune did not disappoint, Matt. He had 1,159 yards and 15 touchdowns for Virginia Tech this year. In 2 seasons, he had a scrimmage yards percentage of 27%. He had 50 receptions in those 2 years, and he averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Matt, I like this young man. Now, it's such a deep class. It is going to be interesting to see where he gets drafted. In a year that isn't so much depth, he might actually be like a top 10 or top 12 runner, but we'll see what happens because this class is loaded. What do you think about this young man?
I think you're saying it well. He's getting lost a little bit in a really deep class, but he's got smooth speed. I like Tuten's ability to navigate around the field with ease. He works inside well. He works outside well. He's able to get off tackle. He's able to get to the edge, right? He's doing everything well. He's a decisive runner. I do think he works best between the tackles because of that decisiveness in between there. He's scrappy. He finishes forward. I like Tuten's downfield acceleration. Now, when you watch him, he's not the quickest off the line of scrimmage. He can look a little slow getting into that second gear, but once he's moving downfield, I mean, he is outpacing ACC defensive backs consistently in a straight line. He's a reliable target in the passing game. So it's a situation here with Tuten where he does everything well. He doesn't necessarily have one standout trait to me, but that's still good enough to get drafted, right? Probably a round 6, probably round 7 type guy, but he wouldn't be the first running back to pop off from that draft capital, right? And be an effective fantasy player, at least for a period of time. So not somebody at the top of your list, but somebody definitely worth watching out for. John, something worth watching out for. We're going to be back here real soon with the wide receiver previews. That class is so good, we might have to break it into 2 shows. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. And hey, folks, do us a favor. If you learned anything about the 2025 class. If this helped your understanding of the 2025 group even a little bit, do us a favor, give us a like on the video and drop a comment. Ask us about any player we've talked about, maybe a running back we didn't talk about, somebody going to the Shrine Bowl, somebody without an invite yet. Ask us anything. We want to answer those questions. We want to have a good Discord for you. And we're going to be back real soon with the wide receivers. We appreciate you checking out this episode of the Rookie Big Board.